approval of the agenda as amended. We have a Rise and Report section reviewed from the camera decision, so we'll throw that in here when appropriate. So, motion to, thank you. Councillor Medlock, Councillor Erickson moving and seconding. All those in favor? Contrary? Carries. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting held August 22nd of this year.
I'll move, but I do have a slight correction maybe.
Okay.
So page 5, I think that under question period, it states that Mayor Victor said yes, it will be held after August when everyone is back from vacation, but I think you actually said September.
No, after August.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good enough, that's fair, I just want that
Yeah.
clarified.
If anyone's on vacation in September, they're vacation too.
No, I thought, okay, the actual public information would be,
Yeah.
coming forth in September.
Yeah, I just didn't want to have,
Yeah.
any serious activity on that one in August, assuming
No.
people were off. on vacation.
Absolutely, thank you for that.
Okay. Additional comments? We have a mover. We have a seconder. Second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Okay.
Contrary, motion carries. Now, a record of the public hearing held August 22nd pertaining to the liquor primary license for 580 Wallace Street. Motion received that.
So moved.
Thank you. And we'll have discussion on it further in the agenda as council is aware. So we have mover, seconder, Councillor Stoon seconding. Thank you. Questions or comments pertaining to the minutes? Okay. All those in favor? Thank you. Now we have a delegation here, esteemed delegation. Ms. Jen Hawkins and Kim Sutherland pertaining to the Open Area Food Security Coalition and the Ministry of Agricultural Partnership. Now, Councillor Dowd.
I'm going to excuse myself, just given the nature of the topic and the potential for conflict of interest.
Okay. Sounds pretty good. Okay.
Okay,
Ms. Sutherland
well, thank you very much.
and
Your
Ms.
work-
Hawkins, you're back there.
Yes.
Are you going undercover today or in the background?
Oh, well, it's.
No, she's
kids'
here to
turn.
support me. Yeah, so thank you, Your Worship and councillors and Jen Hawkins and Advantage Hope for bringing me here to give you a presentation on local food and possibly new opportunities for the District of Hope. So I have a small presentation for you, and I also have time for questions, and I also have handouts. So at the end, because I'm from the government, you know, the provincial government, and you come loaded with paper. So the regional perspective is that the FARD is the most productive agriculture region in BC and in the country. And it has 112 billion in gross farm receipts. Metro Vancouver has 789 million. An average of $18,000 per hectare in gross farm receipts, and that's at the 2011 census, and over 200 commercial commodities. So BC, this area of BC is also the most diversified agriculture in the country, in that kind of an area, in a small area. That's really, really outstanding statistics. I have put that in perspective in a report. So the Niagara region is the next highest, and it is less than half of that kind of productivity. The other thing about agriculture in the Fraser Valley is that it is a very strong sector. There's lots of investment in land, lots of money being poured into land, equipment, and technology. It's a very innovative sector. When people talk about, like I was at an international conference on global food security, I mentioned I was from the Fraser Valley, and people know that the greenhouse sector here is really advanced. They know that the dairy sector here is really advanced. It has a real punch in the world food systems And there's very strong local and export markets. But there are challenges. There's a real shortage of land, a serious shortage of land in the core areas of Abbotsford, Chilliwack, and Agassiz. This is talking about the Fraser Valley Regional District. There's a lot of pressure on the land base for non-farm uses like recreational, transportation, industrial, residential. And there's problems with subdivision of parcels. So there's tremendous challenges the sector is facing. So just to give you some stats, we've done an agriculture land use inventory, which is a drive-by windshield survey and also a map survey of the agriculture land in the ALR in the District of Hope. We looked at Hope, Laidlaw, Popcom, and FVRD areas B and A. And so in Hope itself, there's 55 parcels and 302 hectares. In Area A, there's 44 parcels, 397 hectares. Area B, 117 parcels and 868 parcels. That's just right around Hope. But also, you'd want to include Laidlaw, and that's in Area D, which is also including a much larger area like the District of Kent. Area D is Popcom and a larger area. It's 47 hectares and 493 hectares. 47 parcels and 493 hectares. So this is not an insignificant piece. It does comprise a lot of land, and there is a lot of potential there. It's pretty stunning though in terms of the receipts, the farm receipts for that area. 5 million in farm receipts for area A and B, where you think nothing is going on. It's not nothing. And since this Area D is different than Fraser Valley Regional District Area D, so I don't want to get you as confused as I am with all of the letters of the alphabet that go along with the census and the FVRD. But that Area D jumped by 50% in 5 years. It's really amazing the amount of investment in this area, and that's just hugging you to the south. So why would you want to invest in your agriculture sector? It's got a lot more than what you think. It's a positive economic input to the community. Most economists judge that it's about 2 times the farm receipts just pumping every year into the economy. And the farms provide a net tax benefit to governments. They provide more in taxes than they require in services because they don't require a high degree of servicing, and not as high, say, as a residential use. The market outlook is generally strong. That's both the local markets and the global markets. And the investment, we don't have really good stats on the investment, but we have some knowledge of it. So it's coming from established farmers and new entrants. And agriculture is a very good diversification of the local economy. It's not going to resolve every economic problem that a community has, but it's very good as a diversity tool. And there is a strong local food movement, and so what this movement is that urban people are willing to pay more for high quality and locally produced food. They want a relationship with the farmers they buy food from. And you know, I've been to talks and I can see it happening. It's a strong market. It's not ever going to go away. It's part of urbanization is that you get this local food movement. And so as we become more urbanized, this movement becomes stronger. It's just part of the cycle. And then to meet that market, there's a significant number of new entrants that just want to farm for that market. And I want to just say that previous slide, that was from Pemberton, and that was in the last 3 years that we're seeing this kind of development in Pemberton. These slides are from Pemberton. So the Hope Advantage, what you've got, what I call is the Hope Advantage, you do have good soil, climate, water, everything that goes with the Fraser Valley and the things that are causing farmers to invest so heavily in the Fraser Valley. But what you do have that they don't have in Abbotsford and further west is affordable land. Your land is more affordable here, and that is something that especially these new entrants are really looking for. You have really good access to markets because you have all the transportation routes. But even more importantly, like it's 2 hours, say, to Vancouver from here. On a good day, it might be 2.5 hours from Pemberton. But you have to realize, if you're in Pemberton and you want to get your sheep slaughtered at a facility and sell it provincially, you've got to drive all the way into the Fraser Valley, into Abbotsford to do that, and into Chilliwack to do that. If you're in Hope, you're there within an hour, as opposed to 2.5, 3 hours drive. So that is a really, really big advantage that you have over other places that are competing where these young farmers are going. And the other thing that Hope has is it's a mountain town. And these young people often, and sometimes middle-aged people, they want to get out of the urban area. They don't want to be in an area that feels dense urban. They want to be in the outdoor lifestyle type area, and Hope has that. So it does take deliberate action to really manage your agricultural land base. If you do nothing, you're actually still not going to attract a good agriculture sector, and you're not going to develop one. So if we do statistics on this, and these are just rough statistics because I haven't looked in detail at the agriculture land use inventory, so this is the drive-by survey, and it's also looking at the maps. So if you have 26 parcels farmed, 13 are not farmed, so they're available for agriculture development, and 16 are unavailable because of conflicting non-farm use. So you'd have to displace a use in order to get farming on there. In areas A and B, you've got 45 parcels farmed, 57 available, and 59 are unavailable with, again, conflicting use. So that's a high degree of unavailable, and that is due to local government decision-making and then forwarding applications to the Agricultural Land Commission, which they then approve. Or having development that you're not really managing. And I don't want to sound blaming here, because everybody has this problem. This is a big problem in the Fraser Valley, but it is something that can be managed. So one thing that really needs to be managed is residential use, and we do have minister's bylaw standards. These are something the provincial government does not impose on local governments. It's something local governments have to proactively do. I strongly recommend looking at this. It really reduces speculation and it really enables farming if you enact this bylaw. This is a really important bylaw to look at, especially in today's real estate market. And non-farm use needs to be managed, and it needs to be managed through a steady process of bylaw development and enforcement. District of Kent had a big problem with non-farm use in its ALR, and it went through a really stepwise, steady process to manage it. So I recommend that you might want to look at, and this is what this stack of paper here is about, doing an agriculture strategy, or what we often call an agriculture area plan. It's a really stepwise way, a really logical way of looking at your agriculture area and looking at maybe an attracting strategy for the people that you want, and how to retain the people that are here and how to encourage them. So it's an engagement process. You often involve economic groups, current farmers, potential farmers. It often looks at the agriculture land reserve, addresses issues that are discouraging investment. I mean, this is not new. Many communities have done these. The District of Kent is your closest neighbor that has done one. And it asks questions on what actions could encourage investment and develop the sector. And I think the results from most of these are pretty positive in terms of economic development. Like, they actually have an actual dollar value at the end for the community. So I encourage you to file forward so you can put the I just want these guys.
That's impressive. He's talking my language.
We're working hard that day. And I'm here for questions. And I also want to do this handout. So what this is there's two pamphlets, so I don't know if I can just pass them to you, and then I've kind of got them together. One's an agriculture area plan, the other is agriculture advisory committee.
Sounds like a growth industry.
Paper.
That's your bag. That's your bag. Okay, Councillor Erickson.
The land you're talking about, is it only ALR land you've been talking about?
When I did the statistics, it is, yeah. Like what we have found, what we find is that 98% or something of the agriculture happens within the ALR. It's essentially become our food production zone. There's very little agriculture that happens outside the ALR in general. So you really you really need the ALR. It's for one thing, when they put the ALR into place, it was scientifically based and it was on the best land. And then there's also the fact that municipalities do have the opportunity to pass bylaws that can impact farming in a negative way outside the ALR.
Because there is some land in Hope that is farmland that's being used for farm, that's not in the AL.
And that's something you might want to consider including. Like, I mean, it's always open to discussion. If it's already being used and there's a demand, and there is a demand for farmland, you might want to look at land that is not included and include it. And there's a process you can do that with the Land Commission. It's actually on their website. It offers farmers more protection.
Okay, a couple of questions. One question would be, if there was land that was being used right now for farming, say we wanted it included in the ALR block of land that they reserve, is it possible to do a trade and take out something that isn't being utilized for farming and use it for something else, i.e. commercial or residential? Is that a possibility?
That's something you'd have to discuss with the Land Commission. That's really outside of my bailiwick.
Okay, and then the other comment is, or question would be, what is a parcel of property size that would be interesting for somebody to come to Hope? Like, would it be 5 acres? Would it be 100? Like, what kind of marketing would we have to do to encourage that kind of sector in our community?
Right, that's a very good question, and that's a very insightful question, because different types of farming uses and commodities want different parcel sizes of land. So I talked about new entrants growing for the local market. They can utilize very often small parcels very efficiently. What I've got on the slide here is a dairy farm. They want a minimum of 25 hectares usually to build their buildings on and get going on. There's a farmer I talked to up in close to Boston Bar, and they're developing a combination sheep farm and more intensive agriculture. They're on 50 hectares, so what they're doing is perfect for, like, their size is perfect. It's very different. But you can use the average parcel size for Hope. These statistics don't mean too much, but the median parcel size is 2.2 hectares, which is small, but Abbotsford's is 3.6, so it's not like off the scale by any stretch. And those smaller parcels are often what new entrants are looking, like these new entrants going for local markets are looking for. It's very different though, it depends on what you want to do.
So may I ask one more question? So that would be, because this is kind of a new concept in a way, it's probably not, but it's coming to the forefront now, so we haven't really, as far as I know anyway, really been looking at marketing farmland, and I hope that's kind of not what we've been doing in the past anyhow, but it's an interesting idea. So what I'm wondering is there, of course, money to do a project that says we need to identify, what's available, what we could maybe do with the ALR, and maybe what we can market out there and see. We would have to see what kind of markets would be, kind of viable for this area. Would it be something that's growth oriented, or is it animal, or what is it? We kind of have to do quite a bit of research really, wouldn't we?
Yeah, what you're trying to do is also not just market land, but also attract investment, right? And that's why I suggested that you take a look at an agriculture area plan. It's both a planning document in the sense that it can take a parcel by parcel look at your ALR, but it also can within it is often an investment strategy, like a going forward strategy, like how do you really get this to economically go forward, kind of an economic development piece in there too. So there's funding for that through the Investment Agriculture Foundation, And they will invest up to $45,000, 50% matching. And so communities have used different strategies to get those matching funds.
Okay, thank you very much.
A couple of quick questions here, and now you mentioned that the Hope area has 302 hectares of ALR land. Now, my question would be, now obviously we have big chunks, like for instance the Hope Air Park, that's in the ALR, which will in all likelihood never be used for ALR because it is a functional air park / airport. So there's probably a third of that is probably knocked off. I forget the exact size of the air park, but it's sizable. The question would be, how much of this land is actually commercially viable ALR land? Because I know in the regional district up the canyon, there's lots of ALR land that's, say, on a mountainside. And short of growing moss, you're not going to grow anything. There's really no, you know, it's not commercially viable. I'm not trying to throw cold water on the presentation, but it should be kind of interesting to know, you know, how much out of the 302 hectares is actually commercially viable.
Yeah.
You know, something where the average person that's fairly innovative can actually make money on it.
Right. And it's a really good question, and I don't have the hectare value for you. I just have the parcels, like how many parcels were unused. And if they're considered unused, that means that agriculture could occur on them. And if they're considered unavailable for agriculture, that means that there's some conflicting use on them, or for some reason they're not available. The ALR, I've done quite a bit of land use inventory work with the ALR, and it is actually quite accurate in terms of this land really is farmable. And so for example, I'll just mention that again, this young farmer that I talked to up in Boston Bar, like she did have, it was a large piece of, that was, you know, more marginal land. It would be, so on a class system of 1 to 5, it would, and 1 being the best and 5 being the worst. It was 4 or 5, so it was in the forage category. You couldn't do row crops on it, for example, but she also had a sheep operation in mind. It was perfect for that. So different, it's sort of the same thing as different parcel sizes, different land, different types of land can be, you know, used for different purposes.
Kim? Sorry, go ahead. Can Scott just talk about his land for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, my name's Scott. We live up in Dugwood Valley. You were talking about the farm sitting on the side of the mountain, or the ALR land on the side of the mountains. Our land's on the side of the mountain, and we're farming it. We're starting to now. There's a lot of good techniques to farming and different things out there that makes a lot of this land really usable. And if we can get more farmers here, I think it'd be really good for it.
Yeah, it's good, but there is some land that is just impossible to farm that's in the ALR.
Yeah.
Like if you have a rock face on a cliff, you're not farming it.
No.
So there are chunks in the region that are rock faces on cliffs that are probably categorized in this 302 hectares.
No, actually not. What I'm saying, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, that's okay. I just want to say that it depends what you're farming. If you want to farm vegetables, corn, no, you're not going to plant it in rocks.
Yeah.
But dairy goats do very well in that region because that's where they're from.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll be farming, as well as chickens, and they all do well in that region.
Sounds like an interesting operation.
So I just wanted to say that 1/3, so we talked about the farm gate receipts, 18,000 per hectare. 1/3 of the farm gate receipts are coming from non-soil based agriculture. There's been a rapid increase in non-soil based agriculture, and that's not because the land is poor. That's just because those types of commodities are doing quite well. And so soil is only one factor. There's 2 other factors that are critically important. One is climate, and the other is water and infrastructure. And I mentioned infrastructure, that you have an advantage with infrastructure because you are close to the transportation routes that are very advantageous to farmers, and you're close to that tremendous tremendous activity in Chilliwack and Abbotsford. You're not 3 hours away. And so that's a tremendous advantage.
And one final question from me. Now, there was a discussion earlier that you brought up about non-ALR land being put into the ALR. Now, obviously from a food production point of view, that makes a lot of sense. But from a landlord point of view, that doesn't, from an outsider's point of view, that seems to make no sense, because you essentially sterilize a property for one or two uses. So what is the incentive for property owners to put non-ALR land in the ALR? There's obviously a community good there, but I'm just having trouble figuring out what the plus is for the landowner.
It does happen, so there has to be some pluses.
Yeah.
It's not an unknown phenomena at all. One of the pluses, though, is that you do have additional protections when you're in the ALR as a farmer, and that's why that most of the farming has been, is now in the ALR and not outside of the ALR. If you have a large investment in a farming operation and you put in, $2 or $3 million in farm infrastructure, you don't want to have no protection from municipal bylaws if you happen to stink, for example. Or if you create flies, you want to have some protection. You don't want to be shut down by your local government, and that's where it really makes sense to be inside the ALR, because there's a real process that will, like through the Farm Practices Protection Act, you're not going to be able to annoy your neighbors unduly, but you are going to have some protection. So there are advantages for farmers to be inside the ALR, and the other thing is that farmers, it does appear like you're giving up your development rights when you have a farm, but at the same time you have a very good tax break in terms of 50% of school tax. So over time, this pays off. It actually really buys out your development rights over time as you farm the land. So there's tax incentives to farming. And it does happen, and it has happened, it happens frequently, and it's something you have to investigate through the ALC. So it's not like people wouldn't do something that doesn't make any sense.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much. Certainly good dialogue to open up, for sure.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. You're welcome to
And
stay
if you
for
have
the rest of the
any
meeting.
further questions, I'm easily reachable. I guess I didn't put my card out there, but you can find me through the Ministry of Agriculture, some sort of like, you know how to reach me.
We're connected, we have Mr. Gill. You have all the contacts. Okay, we have a number of items to deal with yet here, so grab those back. Thank you. I'll keep this as succinct as possible here because we still have quite a bit to go through and the meeting's going on here. So I'd like to start off by thanking President Dusty Smith and his group of able volunteers. I think it's important to note that Dusty had 9 other people working with him as a key volunteers in Brigade Days, and I think it was an exemplary result. Brigade Days was very popular and well organized, and certainly encourage anyone that has any interest in getting involved next year to look them up. So on behalf of the community, thank you for all your good work. Thank you. And I noticed too that the youth in the, I'd consider anyone under 60 youth, and everyone was, everyone there was youth, so I certainly have nothing but respect for senior volunteers, but it's nice to see that groups also have a lot of youth involved in volunteering as well, as we need that in the future, so that is awesome. And special thank you as well to Mr. Fordowski for helping coordinate getting the Sports Bowl seating, that second side figured out and organized, because there were a lot of bums on seats there, and I think if we would not have had the second side completed, there would have been a lot of upset people standing. So the seats available were well utilized. As everyone knows, we had a meeting from the Premier last week, this past week, on Saturday. She came through, I had the chance to meet with her for about 20 minutes, talk to her about a couple of items. One is our infrastructure grant, which we applied for. We did all our due diligence. Council set clear direction, administration put together, I think, a very good package. So I reinforced to the Premier and to our MLA and to Ms. Taggart, who was sitting in with Mr. Thronis, that this is a grant that we really need as a community, because the sewage treatment plant is aging and it needs upgrading, and we just would have huge difficulty doing it alone. So it would make us very happy to get some help from her. She said she would do what she could. There's a couple of items which are included under the land labor legal category in camera that I mentioned to her that I'll be discussing with council during the closed session. But she was very receptive. She's very interested in helping our community. Obviously, she can't provide any sort of on-the-spot guarantees as of Saturday, but I did feel she came in with an open mind, and so that was, I think, good news. And Ms. Taggart, for those of you who have not met her yet, she, with the new electoral boundary that we're now part of, that peculiar riding that the Electoral Boundary Commission decided on, we will not be represented by Lori Thronis in the future. There's a new electoral boundary, and of course we're going to be attached to communities such as Boston Bar, Ashcroft, Merritt. So it's kind of a motley crew of communities. And Ms. Taggart is a sitting MLA for those communities now. She's of course trying to be the future MLA for our community, so she's definitely showing the interest in finding out what our community issues are ahead of time, so I give her full marks for that effort. As well, I was able to attend the 45th anniversary of the Hell's Gate Air Tram last week. That was a fun little event, very uplifting. Little tram joke there. Met the new owners. They're a very pleasant family who are originally based in China, and they're keen on making some significant investments in upgrading the tramway and also adding a campsite and other things in that area. I think, if I'm not mistaken, where the Elvis Rocks Cafe is, or was, they're going to be doing some upgrades there, so that's kind of a nice thing. And they had quite a big get-together, so it was nice to be part of that. I carpooled with Director Adamson, and we got along reasonably well, so that's always good news. You know, District of Hope / Regional District relations are doing okay. And then as well, just to report to the community, a lot of folks are very interested in hearing what is happening with the Station House and what council's up to there. As everyone is aware, we advertised for an RFP on doing potential exterior work and also architectural work on the facility. Council has selected architect Jeff Lawler for some work to do the interior and exterior architectural drawings. He is available right away, and he came in significantly under what we were expecting, so that is good news for the community. And that will, as part of the process, he'll be involved in a minimum of 2 public meetings to seek out public input on what the final product should look like. So I know the community wants to see this move forward, and this is something that is very important to council as well. So that is it for the not so long-winded mayor's report today. Councillor Smith, AKA Mr. President.
It's been a little while since I've been to a meeting too. Had a busy summer this year.
Getting married.
Getting married.
Excuses,
Stuff, yeah.
excuse.
Yeah. First off, for Brigade Days, it was one of our most successful events. We'll have the final numbers here hopefully at the end of the week here, but it looks like it's been one of the most successful events in the past 20 years by the looks of the books and the numbers actually. So that's something great to go by. I don't think just our board members that help out with it too. It's the amount of groups that come out and help out. Lions Club, Hope Motorsports Group, Fire Department, everybody like that. The Town of Hope, district employees and staff here. Without any of that help, that event like that doesn't happen. So there's definitely going to be a big thank you put in for all the groups that helped out with everything to make it happen and the volunteers. there's always, with a big event like that, you're gonna have some hiccups here and there, and we found a couple of them. We gotta burp the baby on them, I would say.
Yeah.
But, I'm starting to get your cheesy jokes now.
It's contagious.
But it was awesome. It was good to see so many people out. We tried something new this year too, with the parking on Cockle Lake Road. I think it was, once we put some people parking in there, they got the hint of it. A couple of local people were like, I gotta drive around. I said, well, I've seen you drive to Chilliwack for milk. You can drive around the block to get to your house, so. I don't think it was that concerning for 3 days of, for 3 days of the weekend, so. It was really good, and yeah, look forward to next year's, start planning for next year already, get on it. I was gonna talk about stepping down as president, but I think I might, keep my reins going there, unless somebody challenges me, we'll see. So we'll be having our AGM probably the first week of October for Hope Brigade Days, so anybody that's interested in joining the group and being on the board, I suggest once you see the newspaper ad, going out for it, and we'll put it on Twitter and everything else too. Take advantage of, even come and check it out, see how the AGM goes. Stuff like that, I think, it's a good community event, more people need to be involved, to make it bigger and better, or run more smoothly. I'm a fan of doing 5 things really good and then 10 things half done, right? So if we can get more people involved and do some more events perfect, it's good. Other than that, I got married and I have nothing else to report.
That's pretty impressive news, actually, so, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I have nothing to report. I was away in August. I was in Guatemala on a missions trip, which was very, very, very personally beneficial in the sense of it allows for opportunity to see how third world countries live, and you come back and you appreciate that you're in the first world with first world problems as opposed to third world problems. So that was very beneficial. If anybody's interested, the Baptist Church is putting on an event on Sunday night with the Guatemala team to present what that 10 days look like. So, and we're hoping to go back every other year. With that, other than that, participated in Brigade Days, and I do as well want to congratulate you, Dusty, on a job well done. My brother was here from Alberta, and they were going to make their way down to the States. And then they found that Chilliwack was playing, and it's like they stayed. So regardless, I mean, a great event for the community. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that many people out in one spot. Midway was well received. It's great to have that feel back. So congratulations to you and your team. It's a great job. And congratulations on being there.
Thank you, Councillor Dowd. Councillor Stewart.
Okay, so I attended the Advantage Hope meeting on the 23rd of August. Some really good things came out of that. There was the 100 kiosk that we spoke about, a possible traffic study at 6th and Old Hope Missouri, and some other really neat things that are just going right now. Also attended the open house at the Art Gallery, and it was wonderfully done. Some really neat things to look at and purchase. So if anyone has a chance to stop by, Jenny Wolpert will be doing her demonstration until the end of the month, I believe. Yeah, so stop by and take a look at that. Oh, I also did some speed judging at the parade. In half an hour, I had to judge, I think it's 27 items, which is a real blast. I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the public open house at Nestle on the 17th of September. And that's pretty much all I have to report.
Sounds good. Councillor Miller.
Again, gotta congratulate Dusty on Brigade Days. It was a really good weekend. Thank you for ordering good weather.
I was a little scared on a couple days there.
It was excellent. So I won't carry on with that, but it was a great event. I'm looking forward to UBCM coming up in a couple weeks in Victoria. I think we're all going, which is really good. I don't know if we have any ministerial meetings planned, but it's still going to be a good time to network with other leaders in other communities, see what's working out there for them, see what the challenges have been. It's a good event, and it's well worth sending us there.
I have nothing to report. except on Saturday I went through a walk around town, and I was really surprised how busy it was. Met a lot of people. Walked up Cockrell Lake and saw the parking. I thought that was really ingenious, parking that way. It was really good. It was pretty busy. I saw John and his wife walking across the bridge. We just cruised around just to try and get the pulse of the whole community. It was a very good, healthy week. It was a really good weekend. So thanks, Dusty, for your leadership. Otherwise, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you, Councillor Erickson. Councillor Crowe.
Thank you. I think the last time we had a meeting, I congratulated you on your wedding, Dusty, so I'll do it again though.
I wasn't here.
Congratulations. Well, we knew about it. And also, my hat's off to you. I know how much work it is to keep everybody engaged and and to keep calling them, and you have such great support with Councillor Medlock and Mr. Fortolowski and the other crews that are here, and our Public Works Operations Manager and everyone else. So thank you very much for all the hard work. That was an awesome event. I'd just like to mention that I was blessed to be able to walk with, I thought, you know, this year I'm just gonna pick a group that, you know, it's been obscure to me, but it's near and dear to my heart still, and that was the hospice group. And just thank you for your judging. They got an award, and you know, they were so excited, and it was amazing. They had hand done all these butterflies all over their vehicle, and the kids got dressed up, and they were talking a little bit about what's coming up, Camp Skylark and the bereavement camp, and how many of the kids are actually from this catchment area is amazing. So the whole event is wonderful because it's a community event, but it is inclusive in that there was a lot of people from out of town. We had floats from Cloverdale and other places, so it was really nice that they took the time out to come to Hope and to help us to enjoy our event, our annual event. The kids were beyond crazy excited about the Midway coming back. That was so super, and the ball teams, and it was nice to see people playing road hockey out there and all kinds of really fun things that were encouraging to see. So you know what, there's nothing like volunteering, and if you have time, please talk to people and get out there. There's so many things. Hospice they need people to come on board and help out with some of the things they do. There's all kinds of things that people can do, from visiting to administration to, you know, just helping put posters out. There's a lot of things that are available for people to do. If you don't know anybody in town, great way to meet them. The Park Street Manor is another one that's near and dear to my heart. I'm on that board, and I will say that they do an absolutely excellent job. I do nothing, they do everything. They do a wonderful job, but I support them 100%. And certainly appreciate all the hard work that goes into the volunteering in our community. So hats off to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good. Unfortunately, I didn't see the parade. I was sitting in a car with Mr. Thrones and Mr. Strahl, and they were good company, and Judd was driving the car, so it was nice to have a visit with them, but I didn't get this full lay of the land as far as how the parade went, but it was good to be part of it.
It was great. Rotary and John did a good job on it.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
good
just
job.
very well. So you've done this you've organized the parade for 5 years now, correct?
5 years, so I do, your worship, want to pass that mantle on.
5 times lucky, okay. Yeah, well, that was good. Thank you for doing that.
Hasn't Rotary done that for years?
It is a Rotary task, it's a Rotary sponsored event, that's correct, so I imagine the club will
Find something.
pick someone useful to do it next year.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see who's fighting to fill your boots, sir. Yeah. Or fighting not to fill your boots. Much appreciated. So next we have permits and bylaws, item 8. It's discussion pertaining to structural change to liquor license of Hope Recreation Limited at 584 Wallace Avenue. We had significant public, yes?
Some conflict from operating business next door to the proposed location.
Okay.
Yep, I guess I'll be leaving too.
Yeah.
Sorry, you've got a quorum at least.
Yeah.
I'll come back, Jerry.
Yeah. so Councillor Crop and Councillor Medlock either own or manage businesses within the perimeter of the consultation area of 100 meters, so that's why they have left the table. So maybe we'll get staff to summarize, and then we can open up council discussion.
Your Worship, Honorable Council, this application for 584 Wallace Street is a structural change liquor license application, liquor primary license addition of a licensed area in anticipation of amending the existing liquor primary license area from the lounge to also encompass the bowling alley, promenade viewing, and additional seating area and patio, and that the liquor serving capacity of 62 occupants be increased to 142 occupants, which would be reflective of their current occupant load. And therefore, with today, it's basically council is to, I guess, formulate a motion that's prescribed by the Liquor Control and Licensing Board.
So we have, they will consider what we have to say, but we're obviously not the decision-making body. Just for clarity for the public, some people have, may have the opinion that we have the final say as to how this goes.
Your Worship, through you, we have no jurisdiction in the matter of liquor licenses except for just gathering views of them.
But they will consider our view as a council as well, as part of the submission. So, yeah, and I think the notes from the meeting created by Ms. Dahlman very clearly indicate the concerns, the pro and negative pertaining to the liquor license application. So that'll be passed on, as well as all related material. Council discussion. I think now we have a motion that has to be completed here. Maybe I'll read the draft motion over and then we can add a couple points into it. So a potential motion here. I guess maybe we'll start off with a little bit of council discussion on this, because until we have that discussion, it's going to be a little ambiguous here what we put out there. Couple of concerns, well, comments, I guess, that I would like to bring forward, and I think a number of council members have mentioned this before, that obviously if this license is granted, there could be some noise issues pertaining to increased patronage of the establishment. There's residential locations in close proximity to the 584 Wallace Street location, so I would say there's going to be some serious noise issues pertaining to this license. As well, the proponent of the application indicated that he would be upgrading his kitchen facilities to essentially service the increased patronage of this establishment. So just as an individual, one of the things I would be concerned about is that he has kitchen facilities to properly deal with the increased patrons, so that people come there for food plus alcoholic beverage, not just alcoholic beverage. But that's just personal opinion. I tossed it out there. Maybe we'll have some council discussion on how this. Councillor Smith, Councillor Daible.
Yeah, I think for the noise part of it, I've read over the public hearing. Obviously, I wasn't here for it, and some concerns about different situations like your urination and stuff like that there too. I think that's gonna happen regardless. There's businesses without alcoholic beverage serving permits that I tend to in my everyday job that do it too, like for like truck stops and stuff like that too. So I think that's a tough one to police for that part of it. I think having that corner the way it has looked in years past and where it's heading towards now, to be able to have that patio, I think it's good for the community. It's a good look for the community. The noise part of it for the residential area, I know there's other businesses in this town that are situated in residential areas that can serve alcohol, and I think with good business practices, I don't think that should be an issue. That's my opinion on it, as long as it's amended to or properly attended to. I do think the in and out with the Greyhound part of it's going to be a little bit of an issue with some people being dropped off and waiting for pickup and stuff like that, because I believe, but that's not our say on that behalf. I think that's like a control board that has that say, but I do see a little bit of a potential issue with that part of it. I've attended other bowling alleys throughout the province, like in Merritt, you're allowed to have, people are allowed to have alcohol within the children are playing bowling too. Hasn't never seemed to be a problem. I visit Merritt quite a bit because of my sister. I haven't seen any issues there, so I don't have a problem with that part of it. But I do think what Mayor Victor said with the food part of it being, instead of just alcoholic beverages, having the kitchen part of it inside would definitely be a plus. So that's my personal opinions on it.
Okay.
And done correctly.
A quick question, this may be an ambush question, so Mr. Gill, so I pre-apologize. When do they normally close down? No, I'm not familiar with that. When is the normal shutdown for?
Last call, when is it?
Yeah.
I think they have liquor license till 2 a.m.
Till 2 a.m.
Your worship, that was an ambush question, I'm not aware of it as to, it's always dependent upon the liquor license that the individual has, and it can be from 2 a.m. or earlier, depending upon either it's food primary versus a liquor primary.
So the question would be, can the liquor license be, can there be a split where liquor can be served till 2 a.m. Inside, and that the outside patio serving can only take place till, say, midnight or 11 or what have you? Or can people be out there potentially till 2 in the morning doing their thing? And
Your worship, through you, from the documentation I've read, I've seen something similar to that as well, talking about the reduction of hours for the patio aspect of it. However, my information isn't concrete. It's something that the Liquor Control Board would have to address to us.
yeah.
Perhaps, your worship, it's something you can stipulate as a condition once you've, as a council, decided whether or not you're gonna approve it or not. Not approve it, but voice your support or not.
Yeah. Councillor Dybel and
Yeah,
Councillor
so I just need to clarify, so he wants to increase from 62 to 142, but that is with the expansion of the patio. So I'm gonna assume the patio is not gonna operate in the winter months, so is the expectation or the thought that he's gonna have 142 patrons inside the facility in the winter months?
Your worship, through you, the patio area is a balance of the 142.
Okay, so it wouldn't be in the winter months that he's gonna have inside, in the bowling alley, in the lounge, 142 people. So there'll be some restrictions around that occupancy and the load level and where that will be distributed.
Your worship, through you, currently, excluding the patio, he's allowed 142 patrons, but his serving capacity is only at 62. So he wants to increase it throughout the whole facility.
So then he would be able to to serve 142 people inside the bowling alley and the lounge without them being outside.
Correct.
Okay. So I mean, I'm in favor of moving forward on this application with some stipulations around hours. Like I think the outside patio needs to have some restrictions around that because there are residences around that area. So that would be my recommendation around that. I don't know if the owner here tonight? No. Okay. If any thought has gone into that, and then the impact on the community and what, I mean, do we decide that, or do we do that in consultation sort of with him? Like, how does that work? We put forward that in our resolution? No? Okay.
Your worship, it was as part of that public process that we gathered the views and to see what the public had said and the impacts. And it's basically, it'd be based off of those opinions that the council has read through the public hearing notes.
Councillor Harrison.
I guess my real concern is the Greyhound bus depot being part of the facility. And if we're going to increase the number of patrons going there in the waiting area for the people on the buses, they would be exposed to people, whoever is in there, could be purchasing tickets or waiting. Because the bus comes quite regular, quite a regular bus.
Your worship, there is a commercial relationship that exists between the owner and Greyhound. That is a risk the owner has to take on board, because Greyhound may decide, if the liquor license is granted, that indeed that doesn't serve the needs of Greyhound, and they may wish, as they have in the past, to move where the drop-off and pick-off point is now.
Right.
But I think that should be noted in our report to the liquor control, that it is a Greyhound drop.
The other question is, we're talking about the hypothetical of the patio is totally closed due to inclement weather. We potentially have 142 people inside the facility doing their thing, eating or drinking or both or what have you. Now, from a fire occupancy point of view, how many people are legally allowed to be in that building at one point? And would that be I think that's probably a fair question.
Your worship, through you, the plans were given to the fire chief to review. He signed off on them. It was a part of the attachment of the initial report. Legally, he is allowed 142 occupants.
Yeah, so that part's been covered up. Okay.
Is the facility gonna be changed from recreation to more of a lounge area? Are they gonna be eventually eliminating the bowling part of it, or is that still gonna be part of the main business?
Your worship, through you, the bowling aspect is still gonna be a part of this. Yes, there could be a shift within the business or the operation of the business, maybe moving towards, let's say, a cabaret. I'm not too certain with that. However, it is what's perceived.
Although it appears as the night wears on, people will become better bowlers. In their own mind. Yeah. So, I guess we obviously have to get an opinion that originates from council here that has a majority approval. So it appears the majority of council is favoring this with certain conditions. Is that correct? There seems to be a majority saying yes. Concerns, I guess maybe take an informal poll on hours of operation. Would noise be a concern pertaining to patio operations? Would like 11 o'clock be a suitable cutoff for the outside patio? Is that?
This sort of meets also, I think, our good neighbor bylaw.
Yeah, so it would be consistent with the good neighbor bylaw, so neighboring folks get some sleep too, so. Okay, so we could maybe throw that in a motion that we're supportive as long as the 11 o'clock deadline, the deadline for patio closure is adhered to. Now, what were the other ones here?
The counter for purchasing tickets, a different counter for Greyhound, and the counter for purchasing tickets.
Oh, so pertaining to the, well, I think the operator supposedly is actually quite good at not serving bus patrons, because you can't be inebriated when you're on a bus. So if someone buys a bus ticket, supposedly, they're not served. So that part has hopefully been taken on.
Again, that's a risk for the owner, and if Greyhound decides they're gonna move, he will have lost the revenue as operating at the Greyhound cargo and bus pickup.
The other thing, the proponent has indicated that he would be upgrading kitchen facilities to service the larger clientele base, alcohol consuming client base. Is that something that council would be interested in putting in the letter?
I
Yes.
think so, for
Yes.
sure.
So
Yes.
I think everyone's kind of on the same page there. That council would be supportive, subject to an 11 o'clock patio closure, subject to a food services facility that would service the full facility. So people can have a drink and some food. Are there any additional concerns that we should include in there?
I'm not sure if we can do this or if it's appropriate, I just thought of it, but, you know, if he can have, if he's able to have additional, what do you call them, bouncers or security or whatever you wanna call it, you know, to mitigate any issues that might arise out in the parking lot. I mean, it's just a thought to sort of mitigate those issues and concerns, but, you know, I mean, I'm thinking about the fact that, you know, the Gold Rush pub had closed down and there was a lot of usage there by individuals wanting to access, you know, pub facility, and there is no real pub facility in Hope at this present time other than out at the Silver Chalice. You know, I feel that it meets our requirements around visioning for the community and utilizing Wallace Street and drawing people at both ends of Wallace Street. So I want to be supportive in it, but yet I also want to be recognizing that we need to work together. So I don't know if that's something that's a deal breaker for me, but I mean, maybe it's a conversation. I don't know, Mr. Gill, you could hire a bouncer.
Ambush question.
There's lots of ambush questions for Mr. Gill tonight. Yeah. It's just your night, Mr. Gill.
Likely a condition of the.
Yes.
We also, Your Worship, we also need reasons for, and you mentioned one, you know, meeting with the vision of the downtown of Hope. So any that you wish to offer up to advise the liquor board need to be included.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I see. I see it bringing Wallace Street together from the bottom end to the top end, as well as, you know, for the shutdown of the Gold Rush. There is another facility that folks can go to.
And ideally, perhaps some job creation as well.
But I think definitely respecting the neighbors is very important here too. So the 11 o'clock closure of the patio is, you know, that's important. Sounds good.
We just need a second.
Yeah.
I'm not able together.
Move on second? Okay. Councilor Smith moving, Councilor Douglas seconding. So essentially issue letter of support subject to those conditions. Okay, and we'll pass on obviously all the comments that the meeting notes in the public meeting and the petition and all those good things that we received. Okay, all those in favor? Contrary, motion carries. Thank you. Good idea. Let's get our remaining council members in. Back.
Oh, it's still freezing. Oh, that's it.
This meeting's still going, huh?
Yeah, there'll be no falling asleep at this meeting based on how cold it is.
I turned the air conditioning
Off is good.
Are you sure you turned it down? Like if you turn it down, you have to turn it down.
To the left, to the left, to the left.
I turned it so it doesn't kick in, but
It's kicking in.
sorry.
Can we just shut it off altogether?
I will,
Have some stale air?
Let's see what I can do here.
Oh, there's this dove on the bottom.
Thank you.
So, item B, official community plan bylaw number 1378/2016. We have a motion that the District of Hope official community plan bylaw number 1378/2016 be read a third time this 12th day of the meeting. Okay, Councillor Erickson, Councillor Stoon, moving and seconding. All those in favor? Contrary, motion carries. Now this one is probably going to require a little more discussion here. The item C, zoning amendment bylaw 1379/2016 at 65525 Copper Lake Road. Perhaps we'll put a motion on the table and then we can
So moved.
have some discussion on it. So Councillor Crowe moving,
Second.
Councillor Smith seconding. Thank you.
Should we do both of them together, C and D? or both first?
I think because they're separate parcels, we have to do them separate. A question, probably an ambush question, so that's Mr. Gill's night here. Now, we're talking about enhancing the size of that laneway to make it kind of an actual roadway. Is there a possibility of some significant infringements by folks that have put sheds / shops, fences, whatever? I mean, admittedly, that would kind of be their problem if they're trespassing, but it kind of turns into our problem if we promise that we're going to increase the lane to a road, and then what would be the scenario? Say we say, okay, we're gonna go for this, we have to, there's gonna be some folks moving their fences, obviously, if there's trespasses, so I guess Mr. Forlowski, Mr. Gill, Mr. Dickin, looking for feedback on this. Mr. Dickin?
Your worship, through you, it would depend on the orientation of the existing paved portion within the actual right-of-way. So it may be that there is some encroachment from the properties to the south, but there may be room to the north on the actual dedicated right-of-way for the road to shift the road over or widen to the north. But again, that can't be confirmed until we actually have accurate survey drawings.
But I guess the issue would be, we want to operate within the confines of the right-of-way, and if someone built a shed or a fence on property that's not theirs, that's kind of more their problem than it is anyone else's problem, correct?
Correct, but if
Yeah.
you didn't want to open up that box, and there was room within the existing right-of-way to the north of the lane, you may choose, as a council, or through the approving officer, Mr. Gill, to exercise expansion of that laneway to the north, as opposed to the north and south, or a combination thereof.
So a full expansion of the laneway into a roadway, pseudo roadway, that would, I guess that could unduly shift the roadway towards the property that's being newly developed.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if it's already dedicated road right-of-way, it does not affect the actual parcel that's being developed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your worship, through you, and also through the Land Titles Act, I can ask for road dedication if need be. If worst case scenario, if there was an incremental sort of encroachment that was perceived after we got a survey. But that's a worst case scenario in this regard.
Because I mean, and I'll be quiet here in a minute, but the issue to me is, say someone has taken 20 feet of land that's not theirs, they're using it, it's district right-of-way property essentially. They're not paying tax on it because it's not part of their property. So we have to be a little careful how we handle this, because if we let that go here, after we investigate the details, we have to let it go essentially in every other circumstance. Or they should buy the property, really.
Worship, through you, that's why we have these, the community charter and the bylaws in place that sort of gives us the ability to enforce certain encroachments. But if there is one, I think we would have to look at it and give a serious consideration. And if it's going to be to follow the letter of the law, then we might have to do that.
Pandora's box officially open. Councilor Miller.
Thank you. I'm honestly not too concerned with the potential encroachment there, because when you look down that laneway, fence lines are pretty straight, and I'm hoping that whoever started that knew where they were putting the fence.
The first person was off.
Well, we've had other situations where it was this crazy zigzag mess through, right? So I'm not too concerned with that, but I guess a question I have is, what tools are in our toolbox, or what is the process that would be in place moving forward with this development that would increase some certainty for those people that have those concerns, that there would be an expansion of the roadway I mean, I understood, I hear what you're saying when you say you're listening to these concerns, and it's ultimately your call, I believe. So how do we solidify that somehow, or where does that step in the process take place?
Your worship, through you, it ultimately comes down to the discretion of the approving officer. And to sort of give you an idea, the approving officer is a separate entity from mayor and council. And that's why I have to put it towards, we take it into consideration. The likelihood is, yes, we're gonna ask for that dedication to be fully completed.
Okay, and the second question was also brought up about a sidewalk. Has that been a discussion at all through the developer, or?
Your worship.
I see their concern. I also understand about school kids, right?
Yes.
I also understand that it may mean that the kids will have to get picked up somewhere else. Something like that. School district will have to deal with that situation, because I'm sure they don't want to have kids piled up on the road either. But has that come up in conversation?
Your worship, through you, it's because we're at the preliminary stages, and as part of this process to get the feedback from the public, it's now been engaged. We will be discussing it with the developer. As to what's going to be required, we haven't come to a firm decision or anything like that.
Yeah, Councillor Crowd, thank you.
Thank you. Just a little bit more clarity for me about the lane. Is that the road with the dedication for making it wider? Is it for the 3 existing lots too, or is it just for the 10? Like, what's that going to look like?
Your worship, through you, no, in the case of expanding for those 3 lots, we would have to expropriate lands and then provide compensation for it. That's not what this development's for. This development, what's ever fronting this development is going to be that large width.
So the other ones will still remain the 19?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So, one thing I'll just put on the table here too, to me, about zoning is quite often about looking at worst case scenarios and what can happen under the highest and most invasive use. And I think the residents brought up some very good points, but I think the current zoning of C1 could be much more invasive to the existing community, to the existing residents than the proposed residential use. So since we do have a motion on the table, I'll certainly be more than happy to say I'm very much in favor of the subdivision, because I feel it'll mitigate the inconvenience to the neighbors. Obviously, everyone wants to see a community, their surrounding area stay as as quiet as possible, but development does take place on non-parkland pieces of property, so something will happen to this piece of property in the future, there is no doubt. It's a valuable chunk, and our property and the community is getting more valuable as time goes on. So I would hate to see a scenario where we have a, say, heavy equipment storage yard there where people fire up their goodies at all crazy hours, and then we have some real legitimate concerns from, essentially concerns that we might not even be able to address in the good neighbor bylaw. Councilor Miller.
Yeah, I'd also like to speak in favor of moving forward. I like to listen to the residents' concerns, especially the ones that are immediate residents. With the exception, I think, Stephen Patterson, nobody really had any real opposition to rezoning to residential. I gotta admit, when I lived out of that area, I used to think, I knew it was commercially zoned, I thought, wow, what a great place for a neighborhood club or something. But it takes a developer to see that potential. Clearly nobody has. The proponent here feels that the best use of the land is residential. You gotta move forward with that, so I support the application. I have confidence in staff that you've listened to the concerns of the residents and will be dealt with.
Yeah. Councilor Crowd.
Yeah, I think I'll probably be speaking in favor of this as well, because I believe that as much as it's nice to have some more commercial in different areas, it's also nice to have families move into Hope and breathe new life into our community. So I think that's an opportunity to have some much needed residential area for our newcomers that will come, and so I'm definitely in favor of that.
Thank you, Councilor Crowd. additional comments on this side here? Okay, motion's on the table, all those in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. Now, item D is, of course, the other chunk of that parcel of property is two separate legal titles, so I'm assuming we'll have the same mindset on this motion, so perhaps a motion to second, Councillor
So
Erickson moving,
Second.
Councillor Crowe seconding. Additional comments? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously, thank you. Now we have zoning amendment bylaw 1381, 2016, at 211 Wallace Street, RGWP Developments. Mr. Gill.
Your worship, honorable council, the proposal is the applicant's intent is to rezone the property from highway commercial to downtown CBD and eventually develop the site with a mixed-use development. As per the contemplated CBD zone, the building would have a commercial use on the main floor, ground floor, and one or more dwelling units up above, which would take advantage of the views of the Fraser River and surrounding mountains. Just to sort of give you an idea, both zones permit that use. However, there's more flexibility with the CBD zone with any future occupants to go into the commercial portion of the building. That's for the tenants, and for siting and location of where the building goes. There is an extra provision on top of this, which is the Ministry of Transportation Infrastructure. They have a setback requirement of 4.5 meters, and they will also be partaking as part of this rezoning process.
Okay. So do we have a motion to take this to the next stage?
So moved.
See what the public has to say? Okay, Councillor Daible, Councillor Medlock. All those in favor? Contrary, motion carries, thank you. Item F, permissive tax exemption, page 65 for 2017 to 2019. Staff to report.
Yes, your worship, this bylaw brings into compliance one of the organizations that meet the conditions for permissive tax exemption. Right now, the majority of them are subject to the 2015-2019 permissive tax exemption bylaw number 1355, 2014. And as you will recall, it makes sense to make them 5-year blocks and then have a look at them from a bylaw and administrative point of view. But with this this new tax exemption applicant here, in this case, we're looking at the property used by the Hope Community Services. We basically have to create another bylaw so that both of these bylaws end in 2019 and then they can be encapsulated in one single bylaw moving forward. So it is a housekeeping bylaw.
Okay, sounds good, Councillor Medlock.
Well, just been moved and seconded?
No.
Okay. I'll move, but I have a question.
Move, do we have a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a second?
So, my question is, this property is currently listed for sale. So there's a chance that the use could change. So where is that, I guess it's a procedural question, where is that trigger that was looked at again?
Right, if the use of the property or the organization ceases to exist that relate to each other, then they are no longer subject to permissive tax exemption. And then we'll come forward with housekeeping as well to remove it or address the bylaw, as is the case. But I understand the fear being that a new potential occupier of a property could still benefit from a tax exemption despite the fact that they haven't been approved by council. So that won't happen.
If a property is sold probably through the year, they, lawyers and other do their thing and they split it all up there with taxes. How does that work on a property that's been exempted, that hasn't paid?
Unfortunately, I would have to ask our Director of Finance for that expert question. But to address your previous question, in the bylaw itself, it does name the organization Hope Community Services. So again, at risk of someone else moving over or a different organization taking on, they will benefit from this bylaw.
And land titles will notify us of the change of sale and ownership.
So at this point, we're talking as long as the
Land title sends us
current
notice.
user is occupying the space, right? Okay.
additional comments from council? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Correspondence, 9A, the receipt. Receipt, okay, Councilor Medlock, Councilor Smith.
You didn't do that much, it was great up there, but it's getting all right.
You were there.
Okay, all those in favor? Contrary, motion carries, thank you. Question period for the public, for items relevant to the agenda. Anyone?
Your worship.
Yes.
Under other business, we wanted to declassify an entire motion.
Yeah, we could. I've already reported on it, but,
So the resolution, would you like to add?
sure, you could.
I just need a mover and seconder that council to classify the in-camera motion of September 12th. The council received this report and further the council endorses the recommendation of staff to hire Jeff Lawler, architect, to provide architectural consultant services in the amount of $43,450 pertaining to the Station House project.
Okay.
I'll move that.
Moved and seconded, Councilor Erickson, Councilor Smith, moving and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary? Motion carries, thank you. Next meeting, October 11th. And maybe we can take a quick 5-minute break, washroom break, and so a motion to adjourn to
You guys
the,
are good for the night. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Peter.
head to the